Good time.
Brandon,
Good time.
we had a good time in Vegas, right?
Vegas was a good time.
Yeah.
Vegas was a good time.
We're like the three amigos over
totally
here.
are.
We rocked it.
Three amigos.
It was
We
great.
rocked it.
We took
Watching the burning bush the whole night.
Yeah.
we took pictures of the whole thing, our epic weekend in Vegas, the broadcast. We had tons of fighters on. It's all up at rock1053.com. Brandon Vera is in the house. Now, Brandon, before we get into the fights, let's talk about the expo a little bit, because that was way bigger than I ever could have imagined.
So freaking fun.
Like, I knew it was going to be big, but man, when you're actually in the throngs, like, it's crazy, dude. Like, you literally could not walk anywhere.
No.
Which is cool, right?
It's cool. It really is cool. Because, you know, it is fun. You get to interact with the fans and hang out and take photos, and you get to hear all these different stories. My favorite is the little kids that are training MMA. They come up to you and just look at you like, they don't say hi, but their mouth is wide open.
Yeah. You're a superhero.
Yeah,
You're literally a
for sure.
superhero for them.
But then when you hear the accomplishments that they've had or what they're training at, and they're not even talking about it, like, that's the future of the sport. So it is nice to interact with the fans.
And what's crazy is that now kids aren't training in like one discipline.
No.
They're not like, oh, I'm in judo, I'm in jiu-jitsu.
No.
They're training MMA,
Yep.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I train MMA. That means they know how to do everything.
Right, which is really neat. One of the other cool things that happened at the expo, we're in the middle of the broadcast. Brandon Vera looks up, and in front of him was Iron Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson, man.
And seriously, and Brandon, I love it because Brandon turned into a fanboy, which I totally understand. I grew up watching Tyson, and so I did the same thing. We jumped up and ran over to Tyson.
Did we jump over the fence or we ran around?
We ran around, but I would have been fine jumping over the fence.
You know, when and we were just talking about fans not giving us a break. And, you know, I want to get signatures from all the other fighters, and me and Eddie were just talking. You know, having normal conversation.
Brandon at one point was saying, you know, I wish I could just kind of wear a disguise so I can just check out the expo for myself.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson showed up. No. First, a crowd started forming on the side, and I was like, "What's that over there?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, man, that's Mike Tyson."
Oh.
Before he finished, he said Tyson. I think I was already up out my chair, taking off, running that way.
It was cool. So we got the picture, Brandon and Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
You can check it out at rock1053.com.
My face is. Yeah, check out
that's
the photo.
pure joy, dude. That's pure joy. Which I understand. I mean, I got to meet Mike Tyson a couple of months earlier when he came to the show, and I felt the same way. I mean, that's a guy that you just, like, he's something else. It's like a different plane of guy, you know? I mean, it was really cool meeting Mike Tyson. The expo was amazing. It really was an experience. I highly recommend it next time it comes.
If you've never been, you have to go. It's an experience that, no matter how many times somebody tells you or how many different stories you hear, even if they made a movie about it, it's not the same as being there live.
It's cool,
amazing,
man. I mean, the fighters are right there, and you literally get to meet everybody, and it was that cool. And at one point, I actually I think you had just taken off. I went backstage where they had the bathrooms, and back there was the freaking Mount Rushmore of the UFC. It was BJ Penn, Chuck Liddell, and Matt Hughes.
Beautiful.
Just standing, and I'm like, the three, I'm like, if we get Randy Couture here, we got the Mount Rushmore. Or Hoist Gracie or something. I mean, I was like, this is insanity.
That is awesome.
I turned, again, fanboy. I'm like freaking out. I mean, the three of the best fighters of all time standing right there.
That is
And
awesome.
that's the stuff you get at the expo.
Yeah, you just run into people.
It was cool, man. It was a really cool experience. And then the next night is the fights.
Yeah.
And it was UFC 162. Great card, top to bottom. I mean, every single fight was fantastic. Bummed out that Chris Lieben, our boy who's fighting at Alliance, he put on a great performance.
He's a soldier.
It was
Chris
a
Lieben is a man.
typical warrior performance by Chris Lieben, where, you know, a couple points he looked like he was going to get knocked out. A normal human being
would have fell out,
would have lost that way, but no, he just keeps going. So I was bummed out he didn't get the W, but I'm sure he's, you know, back in the gym already training. And
you know, Chris Lieben is the only fighter that I've met that fought on Saturday and then came back to the gym on Monday.
Oh my gosh!
So we got home on Sunday, right? We went to practice on Monday morning.
No.
Chris Lieben was there.
No.
Whoa, time out, Chris.
You just fought a 3-round fight.
Like, Eddie and I debated taking Monday off because we were exhausted.
From Vegas.
We didn't even train anything.
Right?
I'm not kidding.
So all the fights were really good. Frankie Edgar, another great performance.
Oh man, beautiful performance from Mr. Edgar. It
game.
was typical Mr. Edgar style. Like, beautiful fight. Outpaced the guy. His timing is impeccable. I really like watching that guy fight, man. I was kind of biased against him at first because when he fought Gray Maynard, I'm a huge Gray Maynard fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know, the more and more I get to know him and how he trains and what he puts into his fights, man, you have to love that guy. If you don't, something's wrong with you.
Right. He's a great fighter. All the fights were really good. And then we get to the main event. Ashley and I are sitting there. The crowd is literally
About
split.
to pee myself.
Dude, I'm serious. Again, if you've never been to a UFC event, you know, it's been to San Diego a few times. It's been up in Anaheim. It's close enough. You got to go. There's not literally the hair on my arms are standing up.
On your back.
When they're walking in, the energy in that place is nothing you'll ever experience.
Yeah,
you can cut it. You can cut it. Sorry,
no, absolutely. I took video of when Anderson Silva walked in, and that's on my Instagram, Ashley the Show. I mean, it's crazy.
People are going nuts. They handed out flags, like these towels. Half of the crowd had Brazilian half had the American flag.
Pretty equal.
It was literally the crowd was split 50-50, which I was surprised.
Yeah, well, it's because Mr. Wyman has that following now. Like, he came
kind of an all-American guy,
all-American handsome dude, wrestling through and through, just an American kid,
But again, most people weren't giving him a shot in the dark. Nobody was thinking he had a chance.
No.
Right.
No.
Steps in there, and the fight commences, and it was one of those things where we kind of talked about that it can kind of go one way or the other. If Weidman uses his wrestling,
one way.
It did. If Weidman uses his wrestling and he could take him down, it might be a long night for Anderson.
Yeah, but he took him down, tried to ground and pound. Anderson maybe got hit like 3 times.
Yep.
And then Anderson just pushed him off of him and got back to his feet.
Stood
no
up.
problem.
And at that point, I think we all were thinking, okay, here we go. Now you're about to see Anderson Silva be Anderson Silva.
Yeah. And you did.
We did.
You did.
Yeah.
But not the Anderson, though, that we want to see.
Yeah.
No, he's being the Anderson
that's true.
that
I want to get your take on Anderson Silva clowning out his opponent.
Please.
And the only reason why it's such a big deal now is because he got caught. You know? I love Anderson Silva to death. He is the pound for pound best in the world ever.
Yeah.
I have nothing bad to say about him. I am sorry that he lost, and I'm happy that he lost at the same time for Mr. Wyman. But I was looking through a lot of reviews this week and discussing this with a lot of fighters. You have to respect the sport. You have to respect
anybody
the guy standing in front of you.
Thank you.
Because he trained for 8 to 10 to 12 weeks.
Yeah.
To beat you up.
Yeah.
And it's no joke.
Yeah, it's not a game. You know, like if you make one mistake, you're going to sleep.
Lights out.
Yeah.
He started showing off, made one mistake, was stretched out a little bit too far, couldn't move anymore, and he got caught with that left hook right on the button.
Now let's seriously.
That's real.
Now,
that's real.
He starts it in the end of the first round, calling him forward, putting his hands down, sticking his
back on the
chin
cage, walk
out.
back to the cage, leaned on the cage.
We have seen him do in the past, and it's worked.
Yes.
It draws the other fighter in. It gets him to, kind of get angry and lose his defenses and thinking, I want to punch this guy in the face. And Anderson takes advantage of it. Mm-hmm. So the first round ends. It goes into the second round, and he immediately, before the round even starts,
starts doing it again.
And like you said, he got caught. Now, to me, I think it's crazy because, like we said, it has worked in the past before. This time it didn't. I mean, he was doing it to the point of where it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he was doing this thing where he was like shimmying, like he was hurt, and pretending like he was
hands on his hips,
hands completely down.
Yeah.
So when you see that, do you think, oh, that's just complete disrespect, or do you understand what he was doing?
It's both.
Yes. Answer, please. Because Eddie and I have been going round and round about this.
It is both. It is kind of disrespectful if you're not at that level where you can get away with it.
Right.
Think of Roy Jones Jr., Sweet Pea Whitaker, those guys.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
When they were in their prime, you couldn't hit them. They would put their hands down and they would just move around. It's beautiful when it's working, but if you do it and you get caught, you look like a donkey's rear end.
Yeah, you really do.
But may I ask, for the fan, why is it beautiful when it's working? Because for me, who is a fan of Anderson Silva, and when he fights well, but when he's dancing around the cage being a freaking, it's a joke for him, playing cat and mouse, I almost feel like he's mocking the sport at that point and wasting our time. It's like, if you clearly are so good that you can put your hand on your hips, then just finish the guy. Knock him out, which is what we want to see.
As a fan, I understand that 100%.
Right? Like, it pisses me off when he does that.
As a fighter, so in the fighter's minds, if you're the aggressor doing this, you're mentally breaking your opponent.
So that's why
It's
he
a
does
head
it.
game.
Yeah, it's for
I
sure
just
a
think
head
it's a
game.
cheap way to do it. I'd rather him use his fist, which he trained to use, and that's what this is. I personally think.
Excellent point, Ashley. I can't, I can't argue with you on that. I agree.
Well, obviously it didn't work.
I agree. No, it didn't work. He
and
got
I'm
caught.
glad he finally got caught, and I do love Anderson. He is one of my favorite fighters. He is pound for pound the best, but I'm sick of him doing this cat and mouse game.
Yeah, Ashley. I'm getting goosebumps from Ashley. Yeah, Ashley. You tell him, Ashley.
Do you think it's a thing where he's so good that he's bored?
That was a huge debate. This whole week we've been talking about that fight, man. And
I'm sure.
Maybe he is bored.
And just, because, immediately afterwards, he was interviewed and they say, well, what about a rematch? And he's like, I'm good. I don't even want a rematch. Yeah. It's Chris Weidman's time.
He's got the belt.
Yeah.
He said he's tired.
Could that even be a thing that, you're so bored with beating everybody and the pressure that comes with being the champion? Could it just be like he's done with that?
Nobody's ever been his situation before. Mm-hmm. That's definitely a possibility, That's only something that Mr. Silva can answer. But yeah, it's very plausible, man. He's been doing it for so long. He's just been beating up everybody for so long. He's just kind of like,
it's not even fun at this point.
I want to take a break, man.
Yeah, because
I'm tired of training.
Eddie brought up the good point of how he has held the belt for so long and how much pressure that must be. And I can see someone getting.
Well, originally he had come out and said, rematch, I don't want it. Mm-hmm. I'm interested in still fighting.
Chris is the champion now.
I'm still interested in fighting, but I don't want the belt anymore and all that stuff. Well, a couple days have gone by.
Sure. Now he's mad.
The head clears up a little bit, and now we're hearing
he's pissed.
Anderson Silva is like, screw this. Yeah. I want to fight, and I want to fight like immediately.
Yeah.
And so, do you think that's lit a fire under him?
Yeah.
You think so?
Because you know what? He probably, during the fight, at the time when he got caught, he's probably like, you know what?
F this.
Yeah, I'm cool. We made our money. I want to hang out. He was talking about his kids a lot.
Yeah, he was.
He's got beautiful kids. And then he was just saying, I want to hang out with the kids, yada, yada,
Sure.
yada. Probably went home. Like you said, he cleared his head, sat down, hung out with the kids a little bit. He's like, what am I going to do now?
Well, then you hear.
I'm going to do right
you
now.
start hearing. There was reports all that the fight was fixed and Anderson lost on purpose, and that hurts his legacy.
Yeah.
And so he probably hears these things and goes, you know what? All right, I'll show you guys.
Just a week of talk like this, where you hearing Ashley, who is a super fan, going. Dude, really? You're a jerk for disrespecting the sport. And after I think enough time of that, and he does respect the sport.
Yeah,
he just goes in there and, like he said, bored. I wonder if whatever his next fight is, whether it's a rematch or this is what I'm saying. Do we think that's the end of him doing the cat and mouse, him putting his hands down?
I think he's just going to go in there and try to destroy people right out the gate.
That'd
When the bell
be great.
rings.
From now on?
I think,
Or just
That'd
this
be
one
great.
fight?
No, I think from now on, he's probably going to get, I'm thinking
I would have loved
he's going to destroy everybody immediately as soon as possible. When he fights Chris Weidman, the champ, again, he probably, if he beats him this time around, I think he'll take the belt, wrap it around, and then put it down and announce his
Walk away. That would be huge.
That's because of how he talked after the fight. I think he wants to
Make his point.
and say, "See, I told you I'm out."
Right.
Which,
Now I'm really out.
What's the worst part about all of this is it really is disrespectful to Chris Weidman. Mm-hmm. Because Chris Weidman, who is an undefeated fighter,
Congratulations, by the way, champ.
Yeah.
Right.
I apologize.
Bad Boy Family,
Bad Boy
went
Family.
out there and
Yeah,
knocked out the
boy.
greatest of all time.
Hell yeah,
and
he
he's
did.
getting zero credit.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
it's-
because, Anderson Silva did what he did, and everybody's talking this talk,
that's
but nobody's saying, Chris Weidman, hey, you went out there and did it.
Yep.
Knocked
Chris
him
did it.
out.
Yes.
Knocked Silva out.
So let's go over the anatomy real quick of what happened.
Please.
Silva was and Mr. Silva was leaning back,
Goofing.
sliding, leaning back more, and Mr. Wyman, the new champ, threw I think a 4-punch combination. He even threw a right hand miss and threw a backhand just because he was trying to touch Anderson.
Yeah.
So Anderson leaned back more and more. His chin and his neck, his feet and his back were so far extended he couldn't extend any more backwards. Think about Michael Jackson leaning backwards, doing some kind of dance move leaning back. That was as far as Anderson was. So it only, you don't have to get hit very hard if you're rigid. If you're not moving, Anderson couldn't move anymore. He's stuck. His chin was up in the air. Yeah. And his hands were down. So Mr. Wyman clipped him with that left hook. I think it was his 2 left knuckles right on the chin. As soon as he touched him, his eyes went up in his head.
Wow.
His eyes stayed open, and he hit the deck flat.
Wow.
Probably thought it was Michael Jackson at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
He was doing a little moonwalk. Yeah.
Oh, no.
It was crazy because we talked about it a lot. You know, Mr. Silva can take a shot. He can,
sure.
Man, you can hit him all the time.
Because he got hit in that fight.
Yeah.
But if you're fully extended, the anatomy being knocked out, if you're fully extended, or if you're stuck against something and nothing else can move, guess what's gonna move? Your brain.
No.
Yeah.
Your brain's gonna move.
Yeah.
So his brain moved is shut off right away.
Man, Brandon, I mean, being in the arena for that, I mean, it was one of the craziest experiences I've ever experienced in sports. I mean, it was the loudness that happened, the explosion that happened afterwards.
Pure shock.
It was literally like this: the air got sucked out and then it got shot right back in.
Yeah.
The only thing I could describe that to is the O.J. Simpson not guilty verdict.
Well, it could be. I actually likened it to when Tyson lost to Buster Douglas.
It's when
Because it was like, do you remember the feeling you had? Like, did I just see that?
That hurt my heart.
It really did. Like, my head could not wrap around what I was seeing.
Yeah.
Like, the greatest of all time just got knocked out.
Bad.
And who I thought was invincible.
Yeah.
You know, Mike Tyson was invincible when he lost to Buster Douglas.
Yep.
So was Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
So when that happened, I immediately went back to that. Went, wow, dude, that just happened.
Just happened.
So it was a crazy experience, man, and you know, something that I'll never forget. It was one of those things.
Such a good time. Such a good time, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Now Comic-Con's coming this week.
What's up?
So I don't know if I'm going to be here Friday.
Yeah, hey, listen.
I don't know if I'll be here Friday, man.
I don't know if I'm going to be here on Friday. We'll see. Right on, Brandon.
Oh, Miss Ashley, before we come off the radio, can you please say hi to Coach Billy?
Hi, Coach Billy.
Oh, what's
Thank you
up?
very much.
Yeah,
Little shout out.
Billy.
Nice. He knows what's up.
My Muay Thai coach. Thank you.
Oh,
There you go.
no doubt.
All right, Brandon. Great seeing you, man.
Awesome,
Good stuff
guys. Thank
as
you very
always.
much.
All right, cool. There you go. There's